Princess Zaraya stood by the tall glass windows of the palace, watching the human ship descend through the purple clouds of her home world. The ship was small, compared to the great vessels of the Velaran Empire. It looked almost fragile as it moved through the sky, leaving a thin trail of white smoke behind it. Her father, Emperor Theron, stood beside her. His blue skin seemed darker today, and the golden markings on his forehead glowed faintly. He was dressed in his formal robes, the ones he wore only for important ceremonies. "This is a good thing, daughter," he said in his deep voice. "The humans are new to our part of space. This marriage will bring our people closer together." Zaraya nodded, but her heart felt heavy. She had seen pictures of the human male she was supposed to marry. His name was Jake Morrison. He looked so different from anyone she had ever known. His skin was pale, not blue like hers. He had strange brown hair on his head. His eyes were a color she had never seen before, something between green and brown. The worst part was that everyone said humans were weak. They had only just learned to travel between stars a few years ago. Their technology was basic. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were primitive. The Galactic Council had only accepted them as members because they felt sorry for them. And now she was going to marry one of them. The ship landed in the palace courtyard. Zaraya watched as the door opened and a small group of humans walked out. They all wore dark blue suits that looked stiff and uncomfortable. In the middle of the group, she saw him. He was taller than she expected. He walked with an easy stride, like he was taking a walk in a park instead of meeting an alien emperor. While the other humans looked nervous and kept checking their clothes and fixing their hair, Jake just smiled and looked around at the palace with interest. "He seems relaxed," her brother Kale said from behind her. Prince Kale was 3 years younger than Zaraya, but he acted like he knew everything. "Too relaxed for someone meeting our father." Zaraya did not reply. She was too busy watching Jake as he came closer to the palace entrance. The formal meeting happened in the Great Hall. Zarya stood next to her father's throne, while the human delegation approached. They all bowed deeply, except for Jake. He did bow, but it was a small, simple movement. Not the low, formal bow that protocol required. "Emperor Theron," the lead human diplomat said. Her name was Linda Harris, and she spoke the Valoran language with a thick accent. "We bring greetings from Earth and from our president. We are honored by this union between our people." Emperor Theron raised his hand in the traditional greeting. "Welcome to Valora. We accept your friendship and your presence in our space." Then Jake stepped forward. He looked directly at Zaraya, and his lips curved into a gentle smile. "Princess Zaraya," he said, and his voice was warm and friendly. "I hope we can be friends before we are anything else." Zaraya felt heat rise in her cheeks. No one had ever addressed her so casually in a formal ceremony before. She heard Kale make a small sound of disapproval behind her, but somehow, Jake's simple words made her feel less nervous. "I would like that," she replied. The wedding was scheduled for 1 week later. During that time, Zaraya was supposed to get to know Jake better. They had supervised meetings in the palace gardens, always with her handmaidens Sophie and Alara present. Jake was nothing like what she expected. He did not try to impress her with stories of Earth's achievements. He did not pretend to understand Velaran culture when he clearly did not. Instead, he asked questions. He wanted to know about her favorite foods, her hobbies, what she did for fun. "I like to read," Zaraya told him during their third meeting. They were sitting under a blue crystal tree, its leaves making soft, chiming sounds in the wind. "What kind of books?" Jake asked. "History, mostly. Stories about the old empire. Before we joined the Galactic Council." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "I like history too. On Earth, I used to visit old ruins. There is something peaceful about places where people lived a long time ago." Zaraya found herself relaxing around him. He made jokes that sometimes did not make sense because they were about Earth things she did not understand. But his smile was infectious. Even Sophie and Alara started to like him. "He is not what I expected," Sophie whispered to Zariah one evening. He is kind. 1. But Zariah noticed something strange. There were always guards watching Jake from a distance. Not the normal palace guards, but her father's special security team, the ones who protected against serious threats. And sometimes, she saw her father's military advisor, Commander Helena, watching Jake with an expression she could not quite understand. When Zariah asked her father about it, he just smiled and said, "We must protect our guest. He is important to the alliance." The wedding day arrived with traditional Valoran ceremony. The palace was decorated with floating lights and crystal flowers. Thousands of people gathered to watch. Jake wore formal Valoran clothes, though he had told Zariah privately that they felt strange on him. The ceremony required them to speak ancient vows in the old language. Jake had practiced for days, and he only made a few small mistakes. When it came time to exchange the crystal rings that symbolized their union, Jake's hands were steady. "I promise to honor you," he said, looking into her eyes, "and to protect you, no matter what comes." Something in his voice made Zariah pause. It was not the words themselves, but the way he said them. Like he was making a promise that went deeper than the ceremony required. After the wedding, life in the palace settled into a new rhythm. Jake moved into Zariah's quarters, and they began their life together. He spent his mornings working on what he called his projects. He had brought equipment from Earth, strange devices with glowing screens and buttons. He said he was an engineer and liked to build things. "What are you building?" Zariah asked him one day. Jake looked up from his work and smiled. "Just hobby stuff. Little machines that might be useful someday. It keeps my mind active." In the afternoons, Jake would walk in the palace gardens. He was fascinated by the alien plants, and often took notes about them. Sometimes Zariah joined him, and he would tell her stories about Earth, about oceans that covered most of the planet, about cities with millions of people, about forests that had trees older than some civilizations. "Earth sounds beautiful," Zariah said. "It is," Jake agreed. "Maybe someday I can take you there." The weeks turned into months. Zariah grew to care for Jake more than she had expected. He was gentle and funny. He listened when she talked. He never made her feel less important because she was not human, and he never once mentioned that he came from a supposedly weak and primitive species. But she noticed that the guards still watched him, and sometimes, late at night, she would wake up to find Jake sitting at his desk, working on his machines, his face serious and focused in a way that seemed different from his usual relaxed manner. Once, she woke to find him standing by the window, looking up at the stars. She asked him what he was thinking about. "Just remembering," he said softly. "Old things. Things from before." "Before what?" Zariah asked. Jake turned to her and smiled. But the smile did not quite reach his eyes. "Before I came here. Before I met you." Zariah did not push for more answers. She sensed that Jake had secrets, but she told herself that everyone had secrets. She thought his secrets were probably small things, private memories, personal history that he would share when he was ready. She had no idea how wrong she was. She had no idea that the gentle, funny man who made her laugh and held her hand in the gardens was carrying secrets that could shake the foundations of the galaxy. She had no idea that his simple machines were anything but simple. And she had no idea that very soon, everything she thought she knew about her harmless human husband would be shattered forever. The first warning came during breakfast. Zariah and Jake were eating in their private dining room when Commander Helena burst through the doors. Her face was tight with worry, and she did not even apologize for the interruption. "Your Highness, we have a situation," Helena said, looking at Zariah. "The Emperor requests your presence immediately." Zariah stood up quickly. "What is happening?" "The Kryn Dominion has attacked our outer colonies. 3 settlements are under assault." Zariah felt her blood go cold. The Kryn were the most feared military power in this sector of space. They were conquerors who showed no mercy to anyone they defeated. Their soldiers were genetically enhanced to be stronger and faster than normal beings. Their ships carried weapons that could destroy entire cities in minutes. She looked at Jake. He had stopped eating and was listening carefully, but his face showed no fear. If anything, he looked thoughtful. "I must go to my father," Zariah said. "I will come with you," Jake replied, standing up. "No," Helena said quickly. "The Emperor asked that you remain here, Jake Morrison. The command center will be very busy." Jake met Helena's eyes for a long moment. Something passed between them, some understanding that Zariah did not grasp. Then Jake nodded. "Of course. I will be in our quarters if needed." Zariah had no time to wonder about the strange exchange. She followed Helena to the palace command center, a huge room filled with screens and control stations. Her father stood in the middle, surrounded by his military advisors. Prince Kale was there too, wearing a military uniform, even though he had never seen real combat. "Father, what is the situation?" Zariah asked. Emperor Theron pointed to the large display screen. It showed a map of Valoran space with red markers spreading across the outer territories. "The Kryn launched a coordinated attack on 5 of our colonies. They came without warning, without any declaration of war. 3 colonies have already fallen. The other 2 are fighting, but will not last long." "How many ships do they have?" Kale demanded. "At least 200 warships," an advisor answered. "Maybe more. Our outer defense fleet is outnumbered 3-1. Zariah watched the red markers move deeper into Valoran territory. "Can we stop them?" Her father's silence was answer enough. "We are mobilizing the home fleet," Commander Helena said. "But it will take time to gather all our forces. The Kryn are moving fast. Intelligence suggests they are heading straight for our core worlds. They want to end this quickly," another advisor added. "If they can capture our home world, the Empire will fall." The next few days were chaos. Reports came in constantly, each one worse than the last. The Kryn fleet was unstoppable. Every time Valoran forces engaged them, the Kryn won. Their ships were faster, and their weapons more powerful than expected. Their soldiers fought with brutal efficiency. Zariah spent most of her time in the command center, trying to help coordinate evacuations and organize supplies for refugees. Kale strutted around, giving orders that no one really followed, pretending he was a great military leader. Jake stayed in their quarters, mostly. Zariah would return late at night to find him working on his machines or reading on his computer. He always asked how she was doing. He always listened when she talked about the terrible things she had seen in the reports. But he never seemed worried. "Jake, do you understand what is happening?" she asked him one night. She was exhausted and scared. "The Kryn are going to reach our world. If they do, they will enslave or kill everyone, including you." Jake looked up from his screen. His eyes were calm, and he reached out to take her hand. "I understand, Zariah. I know you are scared." "Why are you not scared?" she asked, and she heard her voice break a little. Jake pulled her close and wrapped his arms around her. "Because I know that no matter what happens, I will keep you safe. That is all I care about." "But how?" Zariah pulled back to look at him. "You are not a soldier. You have no weapons. You are just an engineer." Something flickered in Jake's eyes. Something that might have been sadness or regret. "I am more than I seem, Zariah. But I never wanted you to have to find out this way." End quote. "I am." Before she could ask what he meant, her communication device beeped urgently. It was a message from the command center. The Kryn fleet had broken through the last defensive line. They would reach the home world in 2 days. Zariah had to return to the command center immediately. When she left, Jake was standing by the window, looking out at the night sky. She did not know then that it was the last time she would see him as the simple, harmless man she had married. The palace became a storm of activity. Emperor Theron ordered evacuations to begin. The elderly, the children, and the sick were to be sent to the far colonies where the Kryn had not reached. But there was not enough time to evacuate everyone. "We must prepare to fight them here," Kale said, slamming his fist on the table. "We cannot run from these monsters. Fighting is suicide." Commander Helena replied coldly. "Their fleet is 10 times larger than what we have left. We need to evacuate the royal family and the government. We can regroup and plan a counterattack later." "Run away like cowards?" Kale shouted. "Live to fight another day like smart people," Helena shot back. Zariah sat in her chair and felt numb. Everything was falling apart. The great Valoran Empire, which had stood for thousands of years, was going to fall to brutal conquerors, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. That night, she returned to her quarters very late. Jake was waiting for her. "What are you doing?" Zariah asked. "I need you to promise me something," Jake said. His voice was serious, more serious than she had ever heard it. "Tomorrow, no matter what you hear, no matter what anyone tells you, I need you to stay inside the palace. Do not go outside. Do not try to come find me." "What are you talking about? Where are you going?" Jake came close to her and took both her hands in his. "I am going to fix this. I am going to make sure the Kryn do not hurt you or your people." Zariah laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "Jake, you are sweet, but you cannot fix this. No one can. The Kryn fleet will be here tomorrow. We have maybe 30 ships left. They have hundreds." "I know," Jake said quietly. "That is why I have to do this alone." "Do what alone?" "Jake, you are not making sense." Jake leaned forward and kissed her forehead. His lips were warm, but Zariah felt a chill run through her entire body. There was something in the way he looked at her, something ancient and powerful that she had never seen before. "I have not been completely honest with you," Jake said. "I am not just an engineer. I am not just a normal human. There are things about me, about my people, that we keep hidden. We keep them hidden because when other species find out the truth, they become afraid." "Afraid of what?" Zariah whispered. "Afraid of what we can do when we need to." Before Zariah could respond, Jake picked up his bag and walked to the door. He stopped and looked back at her one more time. "I love you, Zariah. That has always been true. Everything else I kept from you, but never that. Remember that. When you learn the truth tomorrow, remember that I love you." Then he was gone. Zariah stood frozen in their quarters, her mind spinning. What did he mean? What was he going to do? She wanted to run after him, to demand answers, but something in his voice had made her stay still. She spent the night at the window, watching the sky. In the morning, the Kryn fleet appeared. Hundreds of massive warships materialized in orbit around the planet. They were dark and angular, covered in weapons and armor. They looked like mechanical predators, hungry and deadly. Zariah ran to the command center. Everyone was there, staring at the display screens in horror. The Kryn were deploying ground forces. Soldiers in heavy armor were loading into transport ships, preparing to invade. "Where is our fleet?" Kale demanded. "Holding position on the far side of the planet," Helena replied. "But they are too few. If they engage, they will be destroyed in minutes." Emperor Theron stood silently, his face showing the weight of defeat. He had ruled the empire for 50 years, had seen it grow and prosper. Now he was going to watch it fall. Then, something impossible happened. On the main display screen, the Kryn flagship suddenly went dark. Its lights flickered and died. Its engines stopped glowing. The massive warship just hung in space, silent and still. "What happened?" Helena barked at her crew. "I do not know, Commander. The ship just stopped. All systems appear to be offline." Then the second Kryn ship went dark, then a third, then a fourth. Like lights being turned off one by one, the entire Kryn fleet went silent. Hundreds of warships, the most powerful fleet in the sector, floating dead in space. Everyone in the command center stared in shocked silence. "This is not possible," an advisor whispered. "What weapon could do this?" On the planet's surface, the Kryn soldiers who had already landed collapsed. They fell to the ground like puppets with cut strings, their enhanced bodies shutting down, their armor locking around them. Then a communication signal came through from the Kryn flagship. Everyone watched as the screen flickered to life. The screen showed the bridge of the Kryn flagship. Bodies of Kryn soldiers lay unconscious on the floor. Their war master, a huge creature named Brutus, with metal implants covering half his face, was on his knees. His eyes were wide with something Zariah had never seen in a Kryn before: fear. Standing behind Brutus, one hand resting casually on the command console, was Jake. Zariah felt her heart stop. Jake was wearing the same simple clothes he always wore. His expression was calm, almost gentle. But there was something different about him now. Something in the way he stood, in the way he held himself. He looked like someone who belonged on that bridge, like someone who had every right to be there. "People of Velarin." Jake's voice came through the speakers. It was the same warm voice Zariah knew. But now it carried a weight that made everyone in the command center unconsciously stand straighter. "The Kryn threat has been neutralized. Their fleet is disabled. Their soldiers are unconscious. When they wake up, they will find that all their genetic enhancements have been removed. They will be normal beings again, no stronger or faster than anyone else." Commander Helena found her voice first. "How is this possible? What did you do?" Jake looked directly at the camera, and Zariah realized he was looking at her, even though he could not see her. "I did what I had to do to protect my family. The Kryn fleet will remain disabled until you decide what to do with them. Their weapons are permanently deactivated. They cannot harm anyone anymore." Prince Kael stepped forward, his face twisted with confusion and anger. Jake's smile was sad. "I am what my people call a guardian. I am one of 12 humans who carry the responsibility of protecting our species. We have technology and knowledge that we do not share with others. We keep it secret because it makes people uncomfortable when they learn the truth." He looked down at the Kryn War Master kneeling before him. "The Kryn came to conquer and destroy. They wanted to enslave your people, Zariah. I could not allow that." Emperor Theron finally spoke, his voice shaking slightly. "You disabled an entire fleet by yourself. You removed genetic enhancements from thousands of soldiers across multiple ships. No single being should have that kind of power." "You are right," Jake agreed. "No single being should. But we do. And we carry that burden carefully." The communication ended. Jake began walking across the bridge, stepping over unconscious Kryn soldiers. The external cameras tracked him as he left the flagship, simply walking out into the vacuum of space. He did not wear a spacesuit. He did not seem to need one. Zariah watched on the screen as Jake moved through space like he was walking through air. He approached each Kryn ship in turn, and as he touched them, they went completely dead. Not just disabled, but every system shut down to the level that they would take weeks to restart even if they wanted to. The command center erupted in chaos. Everyone was talking at once, shouting questions, demanding explanations. But Zariah just stood frozen, staring at the screen. This was her husband. The man who made jokes about not understanding Valoran poetry. The man who spent his mornings working on what she thought were simple hobby projects. The man who held her when she had nightmares. And he could walk through space and disable entire fleets with a touch. "Princess Zariah," Commander Helena said, pulling her aside. "I need to ask you something. Did you know? Did you know what your husband was capable of?" Zariah shook her head. "No. I thought he was just an engineer. Just a normal human." Helena's expression was grim. The human government must have known. The words hit Zariah like a physical blow. Had her marriage been a lie? Had Jake only pretended to care about her because his government ordered him to? It took Jake 2 hours to completely disable every cringe ship in orbit. When he was done, he simply flew back down to the planet's surface. The palace guards did not know what to do when he landed in the courtyard. They pointed their weapons at him, but their hands were shaking. Jake raised his hands peacefully. "I mean no harm. I just want to return to my quarters. Commander Helena can escort me if that makes everyone more comfortable." Helena did escort him, along with 20 armed guards. They brought Jake to the throne room, where Emperor Theron, Prince Kale, and Zariah were waiting. The doors closed behind them, leaving just the royal family, Helena, and Jake. For a long moment, nobody spoke. They all just stared at Jake, who stood calmly in the center of the room, looking tired but not defeated. "Explain," Emperor Theron finally said. "Explain what you are and why you were sent here." Jake took a deep breath. "Humanity is not what we appear to be. We are not a young species stumbling into the galactic community. We are survivors of one of the oldest intelligent species in the galaxy." He began to pace slowly as he talked. "Millions of years ago, human ancestors built an empire across thousands of worlds. We were advanced beyond anything that exists today. But then came the Cascade, a galaxy-wide catastrophe that destroyed most advanced civilizations. It was like a reset button for the entire galaxy. We have records of the Cascade," Helena said quietly. "It happened over 2 million years ago. Most species went extinct." "Most did," Jake agreed. "Humans almost did too. But we survived. We watched our great civilization crumble. We lost almost everything. But we did not lose our knowledge or our determination." He stopped pacing and looked at each of them in turn. "When we finally redeveloped space travel, we had to make a choice. We could reveal our true history and capabilities, which would make every other species fear us. Or we could hide. We could appear weak and harmless while we rebuilt and protected ourselves. You chose to hide," Zariah said, her voice barely a whisper. "We chose to survive," Jake corrected gently. "We chose to never again face extinction. The Guardians were created during humanity's darkest time. We are individuals enhanced with technology so advanced that it looks like magic. We can interface with any computer system. We can manipulate matter at the quantum level. We have knowledge that predates most current galactic civilizations." Kale laughed bitterly. "So humans have been lying to everyone, playing weak, while you have power beyond measure." "We play careful," Jake said. "There is a difference. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We just want to make sure we are never threatened with extinction again." "And marrying my daughter?" Emperor Theron's voice was cold. "Was that part of the game?" Jake's expression changed, showing pain for the first time. "No, that was real. My feelings for Zariah are real. I volunteered for this mission because I genuinely wanted peace between our peoples. I hoped I would never have to reveal what I am." He turned to Zariah, and she saw the vulnerability in his eyes. "I never lied about my feelings. Everything between us was true. I just did not tell you about the rest because I knew it would change how you saw me." Zariah felt tears building in her eyes. "You were right. It has changed how I see you. I do not even know who you are anymore." "I am still Jake," he said softly. "The man who tends gardens and makes bad jokes. The man who holds your hand when we walk. That person is real. The Guardian is just what I can do, not who I am." "But you can disable fleets," Kale said. "You can walk through space. You can do things that even the most advanced species cannot do. How are we supposed to not fear you?" Jake met Kale's eyes steadily. "You fear me because you have seen what I can do when threatened. But think about this. I have been living in this palace for months. I had access to your computer systems. I could have disabled your entire empire anytime I wanted. But I did not. I lived peacefully. I married Zariah. I tended gardens. I only acted when someone tried to harm the people I care about. He turned back to Emperor Theron. I understand if you want me to leave. I understand if you want to end this alliance. But know this. I will always protect Zariah. Whether she is my wife or not, whether you accept me or not, I will make sure she is safe. Is that a threat? Helena asked, her hand moving to her weapon. No, Jake said simply. It is a promise. I love her. The throne room fell silent again. Zariah looked at her father, then at Jake. Two parts of her life that she loved, now standing on opposite sides of something she did not fully understand. I need time to process this, Emperor Theron said finally. Jake Morrison, you will return to your quarters under guard. We will decide what to do with you and with the human alliance. Jake nodded. As you wish, Your Majesty. As the guards led Jake away, he looked back at Zariah one more time. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Zariah saw both versions of him. The gentle husband she loved and the powerful guardian who could make fleets fall from the sky. After he left, Kale immediately started talking about the danger Jake posed, about how humans had deceived them, about how they could not trust Earth anymore. But Zariah was not listening. She was thinking about all the mornings Jake spent in the gardens, about how he always asked about her day, about how he made her laugh when she was sad, about how his eyes lit up when he taught her about Earth culture. Were those moments fake? Or were they the real Jake, hiding behind a mask of normalcy? Commander Helena approached her. Princess, we need to discuss security measures. Security measures against my husband? Zariah asked. Against a being who can disable our entire military with a thought, Helena corrected. We need to be prepared. Prepared for what? Zariah demanded, feeling anger rise in her chest. He saved us. The Kryn would have destroyed our world. He stopped them. Yes, Helena said carefully. But now we know that if he wanted to, he could do the same thing to us. How do we defend against that? Zariah had no answer. Because Helena was right. If Jake wanted to hurt them, there was nothing they could do to stop him. Their safety depended entirely on his goodwill, and that was a terrifying thought. The news of what happened spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours, every major civilization knew that a single human had disabled the entire Kryn fleet without firing a shot. The galactic community, which had viewed humans as weak newcomers, was in shock. Zariah spent the next 3 days in meetings that seemed to never end. Ambassadors from dozens of worlds arrived at the palace, all demanding answers. Some wanted to form stronger alliances with Earth. Others wanted humans expelled from the Galactic Council. A few wanted humanity destroyed before they could pose a greater threat. Through it all, Jake remained in his quarters under guard. Zariah had not spoken to him since that day in the throne room. She wanted to, but every time she started to go to him, she lost her courage. What would she even say? On the 4th day, a ship arrived from Earth. It carried Ambassador Linda Harris and 2 other humans. Linda requested an immediate meeting with Emperor Theron. And this time, she was not making polite requests. She was making demands. Zariah attended the meeting in the Great Hall. Her father sat on his throne, looking older than she had ever seen him. Prince Kale stood beside him, wearing full military dress, as if that would somehow matter now. Commander Helena and her top officers lined the walls. Linda walked into the hall with confident steps. The 2 humans with her were introduced as Daniel Cooper and Rachel Hayes, senior officials from Earth's government. They did not bow deeply like they had during the wedding delegation. They barely bowed at all. Emperor Theron, Linda began, her voice firm. We need to discuss what happened with Guardian Morrison. You lied to us. Kale burst out before his father could speak. You sent a weapon disguised as a husband. You made fools of us all. Linda turned her cold gaze to Kale. We sent one of our best people to forge an alliance. We sent someone who genuinely wanted peace. The fact that he is also capable of defending himself and those he cares about should not be a surprise. Do not pretend this was anything but calculated, Helena said. You knew exactly what you were doing. Of course we did. Daniel Cooper spoke up. His voice was sharp and unapologetic. Did you think we would send an unprotected human into an unknown alien empire? Did you think we would risk one of our people without ensuring he could survive if things went wrong? Jake was never in danger from us, Zariah said, speaking for the first time. We welcomed him. We honored the marriage. We treated him with respect. No, Rachel Hayes looked at Zariah with something that might have been sympathy. And he respected you in return, Princess. Guardian Morrison has been sending reports back to Earth. Every report praised your kindness and your integrity. He asked us multiple times to never reveal his true nature because he did not want to ruin his relationship with you. Then why reveal it now? Emperor Theron asked. Because the Kryn forced his hand, Linda replied. Guardian Morrison had specific orders. He was to live peacefully, build genuine relationships, and only reveal his capabilities if there was no other choice. The Kryn invasion left him no choice. She pulled up a holographic display showing the disabled Kryn fleet. Let me be clear about something. Jake Morrison is not our most powerful guardian. He is one of 12, and we chose him specifically because he is the gentlest, the most patient, the most likely to seek peaceful solutions. The room went very quiet. Zariah felt ice forming in her stomach. There are 11 others? Helena asked quietly. There are, Daniel confirmed. And each guardian has different specializations, different strengths. Guardian Morrison specializes in technology and systems. Others specialize in different areas. Why are you telling us this? Emperor Theron asked. Linda met his eyes directly. Because we need you to understand something fundamental. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to conquer or dominate. We have the power to do so. But we choose not to. What we want is to never face extinction again. We want to be left in peace. We will be friends to those who respect us. But we will be absolutely uncompromising with those who threaten us or our allies. Are you threatening us? Kale demanded. No, Rachel said. We are educating you. There is a difference. You are not our enemies. You have treated Guardian Morrison and his marriage to Princess Zariah with honor. We appreciate that. We want to continue our alliance. But now we know the truth, Helena said. Humans are not the weak, primitive species you pretended to be. You have technology beyond our understanding. You have guardians who can disable entire fleets. How do we trust you after this deception? Linda sighed. The same way we trusted you when we first made contact. With hope and good faith. Look at your history, Commander. Look at what the Velaran Empire has done over thousands of years. You have conquered weaker species. You have absorbed their territories. You have done what empires do. We brought civilization to those worlds, Kale protested. Perhaps, Daniel said. But you brought it at the point of a weapon. Humans could do the same thing across the entire galaxy. We have the power, but we choose not to. Does that not count for something? Emperor Theron raised his hand, and everyone fell silent. Tell me about the cascade. Tell me the full truth about human history. Linda nodded and brought up more holographic displays. The cascade occurred 2.3 million years ago. We still do not fully understand what caused it. Some kind of chain reaction that spread across the galaxy, destroying advanced technology and disrupting the fundamental forces that advanced civilizations relied on. The displays showed images of ancient ruins, destroyed worlds, broken technologies that looked more advanced than anything in the current era. Human ancestors had built an empire across 1,000 worlds, Rachel continued. We were not the only advanced species, but we were one of the most widespread. The cascade destroyed everything. Our great cities fell. Our technology stopped working. Billions died. But some humans survived, Linda said. They survived in underground shelters, on isolated colonies, in protected facilities. When they emerged, They found a galaxy that had been reset. Most species were extinct. Those that survived had lost everything and had to start over from the beginning. Daniel pulled up images of early humans rebuilding. Our ancestors made a decision. They would hide what they once were. They would let the galaxy think humans were just another species that evolved naturally and developed technology slowly. They would protect the knowledge and technology they had salvaged, keeping it secret. The Guardians were created during this time, Rachel explained. 12 individuals enhanced with the last remaining advanced technology. They were given the responsibility of protecting humanity and preserving our knowledge. As centuries passed and humanity redeveloped, the Guardians remained, passing their mission down through carefully chosen successors. Zariah listened to all of this with growing understanding. So, when humans finally achieved spaceflight again, you already had the Guardians. Zariah listened to all the Guardians. Yes, Linda confirmed. We had preserved knowledge and technology that we kept hidden. We presented ourselves as a young species because it was safer, because it allowed us to observe and learn about the new galactic order without immediately becoming a target. But now the secret is out, Helena said. Now the secret is out, Linda agreed. Because Guardian Morrison had to choose between protecting his wife and protecting our secret. He chose his wife. We support that choice. Emperor Theron leaned back in his throne. What happens now? What does Earth want? We want to continue our alliance, Linda said. We want Princess Zariah and Guardian Morrison to remain married, if that is what they both want. We want to maintain diplomatic relations with Valoran and other civilizations. But we also need everyone to understand that humanity will not be threatened. What about the Kryn? Kale asked. What about them? Daniel replied. Their fleet is disabled. Their military enhancements are gone. They are no longer a threat to anyone. What you do with them is up to you. Just like that? Helena said. You disable the most powerful military fleet in the sector and just leave them for us to deal with? Would you prefer we destroyed them? Rachel asked quietly. Guardian Morrison could have killed every Kryn in that fleet. He chose not to. He removed their ability to harm others but left them alive. We consider that the merciful choice. The meeting continued for hours. The Earth delegation made it clear that they wanted peace, but would accept nothing less than respect. They shared some information about Guardian technology and capabilities, but not everything. Some secrets, they said, had to remain secrets for everyone's safety. Finally, as the sun was setting outside the palace windows, Emperor Theron made a decision. I will not end our alliance with Earth, but I want changes to our agreement. I want human technology sharing. I want regular communication with your Guardian program. I want transparency. We can agree to some of that, Linda said carefully, but understand that some things must remain protected. We will not give you Guardian technology. We will not share everything we know, but we will be more open about our capabilities, and we will work with you as genuine allies. After the Earth delegation left, Zariah finally went to Jake's quarters. The guards let her pass without question. She found him sitting by the window, looking out at the garden he had spent so many mornings tending. I wondered when you would come, he said softly. Zariah closed the door behind her and stood awkwardly in the middle of the room. I needed time to think. I understand. Do you? Zariah asked, and she was surprised by the anger in her voice. Do you understand what it feels like to realize that the person you love has been hiding something so fundamental? Jake turned to face her. His eyes were sad but not apologetic. I do, actually. I have lived for a very long time, Zariah. I have had relationships before. Every time, I had to decide how much truth to share. Every time, revealing the truth changed everything. How long? Zariah asked. How long have you been a Guardian? 230 years, Jake replied. I am not the original Jake Morrison. I took that name when I volunteered for this mission. Before that, I had other names, other lives. Zariah felt dizzy. 200 years. You have lived for 200 years. Guardian enhancements stop aging, Jake explained. I will live for thousands of years. Maybe longer. We do not know the upper limit. Quote. And me? Zariah whispered. I will age and die in maybe 60 more years. Did you think about that when you married me? Jake's expression crumbled. I think about it every day. It is the one part of this I truly hate. The conversation between Zariah and Jake lasted through the night. They talked about everything he had hidden. About his long life, about the other guardians. About what it meant to carry such power and responsibility. When dawn came, Zariah was exhausted, but felt like she finally understood the man she had married. I do not know if I can accept all of this, she admitted. But I know I still love you. Even knowing what you are, I still love you. Jake took her hand gently. That is all I could ever ask for. But their peace did not last long. 3 days after the Earth delegation left, something happened that shocked even Jake. The sky above the palace turned strange colors, and gravitational anomalies began affecting the entire planet. Commander Helena's instruments went crazy, showing energy readings that should not be possible. Then they appeared. 3 beings of pure light materialized in the upper atmosphere. They were massive, each one larger than the palace itself. Their forms constantly shifted and changed, making them difficult to look at directly. The very air around them crackled with power. The architects had arrived. Zariah had learned about the architects in her history lessons. They were ancient beings that some civilizations worshipped as gods. They had existed before the Cascade, possibly before most intelligent life in the galaxy, but they rarely interfered in the affairs of younger species. Most people believed they were just legends, but here they were, very real and very present. We wish to speak with the human guardian. Their voices resonated through space itself, heard by everyone on the planet simultaneously. In the command center, panic erupted. I do not know, Your Majesty, Helena replied. But we need to bring him here immediately. They found Jake in the palace gardens, calmly tending to the blue crystal trees as if beings of godlike power had not just appeared in the sky. When they told him about the architects, he simply nodded. I expected this might happen, he said quietly. You expected gods to show up? Kale demanded. They are not gods, Jake corrected. They are just very old and very powerful, like us, but different. He walked out into the palace courtyard, and everyone watched from windows and screens as he simply rose into the air. He flew upward without any visible means of propulsion, ascending through the atmosphere to meet the architects. Zariah watched through the palace telescopes, her heart pounding. Jake looked so small compared to the massive beings of light. She wanted to call out to him, to tell him to be careful, but she knew he could not hear her. The conversation between Jake and the architects was brief. Dr. Nathan Foster, one of the palace scientists, managed to capture fragments of their exchange through quantum resonance imaging. The technology was experimental and the translation was imperfect, but enough came through to understand what was happening. You are the inheritors. The lead architect's voice boomed like distant thunder. We thought your kind had passed beyond when the Cascade came. We thought your kind. We thought your kind. We thought your kind. Jake's response was steady, his voice carrying across the void. We nearly did. We lost almost everything. But we learned from you. We learned to survive no matter the cost. You carry the weight we once bore. The responsibility of power beyond measure. I know. We all know. That is why we hide. That is why we pretend to be less than we are. There was a pause. And Zariah imagined the architects studying Jake, measuring him in ways she could not understand. You have changed, another architect said. When we knew your ancestors, they were proud and ambitious. They wanted to shape the galaxy in their image. The Cascade taught us humility, Jake replied. It taught us that no matter how powerful you become, the universe can still destroy you. So we learned to be careful. We learned to value survival over glory. And yet you revealed yourself to protect a single world, the third architect observed. You risked everything humanity has built for one person. Not one person, Jake corrected. For people I care about. For the woman I love. For her family and her world. Is that not what power should be used for? To protect those who matter to us? The architects fell silent for a long moment. Around the planet, everyone waited with held breath, wondering what would happen next. Finally, the lead architect spoke again. We acknowledge the guardians of Earth. We acknowledge humanity as the inheritors of the old ways. We will not interfere with your species, and we expect the same courtesy. The old balance has returned to the galaxy. With those words, the architects began to fade. But before they vanished completely, one of them spoke directly to Jake. Your people made the right choice. Young guardian, power without wisdom leads to ruin. Your ancestors learned that lesson too late. But you carry their memory and their mistakes. That makes you wiser than they ever were. 8. Then they were gone, leaving only Jake floating in the upper atmosphere. He descended slowly back to the palace. And this time when he landed, every guard, every servant, every official, bowed their heads in respect. Zariah ran to him, not caring about protocol or appearances. She threw her arms around him, and he held her tightly. Even the architects acknowledge you, she whispered. Even beings that old and powerful respect what you are. They respect what humanity has become, Jake corrected. They respect that we learned from our mistakes. The next few weeks were chaotic. News of the architect's appearance spread across the galaxy even faster than news of the Kryn defeat. The appearance of beings that most considered mythical, combined with their acknowledgement of humanity, changed everything. Species that had dismissed Earth as primitive now approached with requests for alliances. The Galactic Council officially recognized humanity as one of the founding civilizations, despite only recently joining. No one dared challenge the decision. The Kryn Dominion collapsed completely. Without their enhanced soldiers and their fear-inducing reputation, the species they had conquered rebelled. The Kryn themselves became refugees, scattered and powerless. Some called for their complete destruction, but Emperor Theron, with Jake's advice, instead offered them sanctuary on uninhabited worlds where they could rebuild peacefully. They were created to be weapons, Jake had said. Now that their enhancements are gone, they are just people trying to survive. We know what that is like. Through it all, Zariah and Jake rebuilt their relationship on a foundation of complete honesty. There were no more secrets between them. Jake told her about his long life, about the other guardians, about the burden of carrying so much knowledge and power. Do you ever regret it? Zariah asked him one evening, as they walked through the gardens. Do you regret becoming a guardian? Jake considered the question seriously. Sometimes. It is lonely, knowing I will outlive everyone I care about. But then I think about all the people I have been able to protect over the centuries, all the disasters I have prevented, all the lives I have saved, and I think it is worth it. He stopped walking and turned to face her. Meeting you made it worth it. These months with you have been the happiest I have had in decades. Even though I knew it would hurt eventually, I would make the same choice again. Zariah felt tears building in her eyes. I will age and die. You will live on for thousands of years. How do we build a life together, knowing that? The same way everyone builds a life together, Jake said gently. One day at a time. We enjoy the time we have. We make good memories. We love each other as much as we can, for as long as we can. It is not fair, Zariah whispered. No, Jake agreed. It is not fair. Nothing about being a guardian is fair. But I learned a long time ago that life rarely is. All we can do is make the best of what we have. Months passed, and the galaxy slowly adjusted to its new reality. Humanity remained on Earth and a few colonies, not seeking to expand or conquer. But now, everyone knew the truth. They knew that humans were survivors of one of the oldest civilizations. They knew about the Guardians. They knew that humanity had power beyond measure, but chose restraint. Some species feared this. Others respected it. A few tried to steal Guardian technology, but those attempts failed spectacularly. The Guardians protected their secrets well. Jake and Zariah's life settled into a new normal. Jake still tended his gardens every morning. He still made jokes that Zariah did not always understand. He still held her hand when they walked. But now she knew the full truth about him, and somehow that made their relationship stronger. One evening, they stood on the palace balcony watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of purple and orange, and the stars were just beginning to appear. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Zariah asked. "Revealing the truth about humanity?" Jake considered the question. "I think we did the only thing we could do. Secrets that big cannot stay hidden forever." The Kryn forced our hand. But even if they had not, eventually someone would have discovered the truth. At least this way. We controlled how the information came out. And now? Now we live with the consequences, Jake said. We deal with the fear and the respect and everything in between. We prove through our actions that humanity can be trusted with power. We show the galaxy that strength does not have to mean domination. Zariah leaned against him, and he wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "I am still angry sometimes. You know. About the secrets you kept. I know. You have every right to be. But I love you anyway. I wish I did not sometimes, because it would be easier. But I do." Jake kissed the top of her head. "I love you too. More than I have loved anyone in a very long time. You made me remember what it is like to be human, not just a guardian." Below them, the palace was lit with soft lights. People moved through the halls, going about their evening routines. The Kryn fleet still floated in orbit, disabled and harmless. A reminder of how close they had come to disaster. But they had survived. They had been saved by a being so powerful that even godlike entities acknowledged his existence. And that being was content to tend gardens and love his wife. Zariah thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the revelation, the architects, the complete upheaval of everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. It had been overwhelming and terrifying, and had fundamentally changed her understanding of reality. But through it all, one thing remained constant. Jake loved her. Not because he was ordered to, not because it was politically convenient, but because he genuinely cared. He had risked everything to protect her and her people. He had revealed secrets that humanity had kept for millions of years because he would not let the Kryn hurt her. "Thank you," Zariah said quietly. "For what?" "For saving us. For loving me. For being honest, even when it was hard. For choosing me over your secrets." Jake smiled, and it was the same gentle smile she had fallen in love with months ago. "I would make that choice again and again. You are worth more to me than all the secrets in the galaxy." They stood together on the balcony as night fell completely and the stars came out in full. Somewhere out there, 11 other Guardians carried on their secret mission to protect humanity. Somewhere out there, species were adjusting to the new reality of what humans truly were. Somewhere out there, the architects watched and waited to see what humanity would do with its second chance. But here, in this moment, Zariah and Jake were just a husband and wife watching the stars. One who would age and die in a few decades, and one who would live for millennia. It was not fair. It was not perfect, but it was theirs, and they would make the most of every moment they had together. The alien princess had married thinking her husband was harmless. She had been wrong. But in being wrong, she had discovered something more important. True strength was not about power. It was about choosing when to use that power and when to simply be gentle. Jake could make gods tremble, but he chose to make her laugh instead. And that, Zariah thought, was the most remarkable thing of all.